What's going on, guys? Red Down Prepper here with another vehicle prep overview type of deal here. Um, Today I was going to change out my front shocks, and since that involves taking off the tire and exposing the brake system and all that good stuff, I thought I might do a little thing on checking your suspension components and disc brakes. Uh, so that's what we're going to do. I'm not really going to go over the shocks. Shocks are way different on my vehicle than most. Um, So, and hey, shocks are pretty self-explanatory on most vehicles. As long as they're not struts, they're pretty easy to do. I might do a little something on them. But anyway, with no further ado. Alright, first thing we're going to do. Obviously, I got some of my lug nuts off of here, no big deal. We're going to check our components. We're going to lift the truck up in the air. Safety first, always have the safety jack under there. And you're going to grab it with both hands on each side, and you're going to shake it. Now, if you have any play in that tire from side to side, chances are your tie rods are bad, or you have a bar component. Oh, that's great. What are the tie rods? This is really a two-man job. Have a friend or somebody shake the tire from side to side, and as you shake it from side to side, if there's any movement right here on your tie rod, or this is also, you follow your bar here. If you've got an outer tie rod, follow the bar. And this is your inner tie rod. Alright, if you've got any movement whatsoever, chances are your tie rods are bad. Now you're going to be able to figure out which one, typically, because you're going to see these components go in and out, or side to side. These are not supposed to move like that. And you're going to hear the clunk of it. Okay? So if you have any movement while you're shaking a tire, like I said, you're going to see it. It's going to pulse in and out all around, pretty much at the boots and stuff, right around here, have lost, have rotted off. Another thing to do just for preventive maintenance, hit up your grease points. As you can see, it's been a while since mine have been hit up. But grease points right there. Some of them have your ball joints. A lot of the newer cars don't even have grease points. Everything's sealed. So, no big deal. Now, right now, if you only jack up one side, you're doing side-specific stuff. Alright, so if you only jack up your driver's side, you're only going to figure out if your driver's side is good or bad. So if you want like the whole system, here I got the Pitman arm right here, which connects to my tie rod center link over to my idler arm. These components can also become worn and bad, okay? So what you want to do with that is you want to lift both sides up and check both sides. That's how you're going to figure out, unless it's really bad, and you're going to know right away. But again, you're going to see the same kind of movement in between here and up and down gyration if these components are bad. Okay? Typically, if it's a Pitman arm is on your driver's side most of the time. It's connected to your gearbox, your power steering gearbox right here. So here's your connection. I don't recommend, if you don't know anything about cars or repairing vehicles, that you do that yourself. Your idler arm, on the other hand, this component right here, that you can do by yourself typically, because that's not a big job, and it's not going to throw off your alignment if you do it wrong. Your Pitman arm, if you don't connect this right and everything, can throw off your alignment really, really bad. I've had some of your do-it-yourselfers think that it's easy, and boy, let me tell you, I had one of my senior mechanics in the shop one time, and he about blew a head gasket because he could not figure out what this guy did. And so he really messed it up. So Pitman arm, if you're not mechanically inclined, don't do it. Tie rods are a bit easy. Take these two bolts off, unscrew it, take this bolt off, castle nut, cotter pin out, hammer it. Don't bow it out right here, but you know, get the nut all the way to the top. Or if you have a fork system, stick it right here, hammer the fork. You know what I'm saying? And you can get that tie rod out and often replace it. The only thing about tie rods is that's going to mess up your alignment. So before you do anything, count the threads, so you can get a general idea of what your previous alignment is. Anytime you do suspension work like this, you're going to have to get the car realigned. But to get it as close as possible to what it was, count the threads, write them down, remember it, whatever, and when you thread it back in, make sure there's the same amount of threads in the new tie rod as the old tie rod. Okay? But anyway, so like I said, side-to-side motion, guys, will reveal your tie rods, your pitman arm, and your idler arm to see if there's any kind of movement. Another good way is to take your center link and just kind of give it a good pull back and forth. Same thing with your strut bar. Any kind of looseness, no bueno. Oh, I almost fell. So again, have somebody grab your tie, lift your car up, grab it from the sides, shake it side to side. Freaking leaky thing. Let me go ahead and show you what the forks look like for your tie rods. Now all this stuff is basically pretty cheap. These are the forks I'm talking about. Stick that in between your tie rod and hammer it in. It should pop right out. Okay. Some of you have different kind of tie rods that require a special tool to get at Dodge, like the Intrepids, Chrysler 300Ms. They're a pain in the ass. So if you have one of those kind of cars, I'm sorry for you. Alright, next what we got here is ball joint checks. Now again, same difference, except we're going up and down. Alright, so have somebody, go up and down with it. If you can hear that clicking, I already know this for a fact. My lower ball joint is starting to go bad. Upper ball joint. Well, I guess since we're gonna get deep in here, let's turn on the flash, which we can't. So I'm gonna take the tire off anyway. Like I said, have somebody go up and down on it. If you feel any kind of motion like I am, you're gonna see which ball joint is going bad. Okay? A good way to figure it out is to get yourself a pry bar, jack it up just a little bit, and pry up and down on it. If you hear a lot of noise and you see the tire very up and down, jounce up and down a lot, your ball joints are shot. Okay? And again, you're having somebody do this for you while you're under the truck or under the vehicle looking. Here's your upper ball joint. Alright, now you're going to see the same thing that you see when you look at your tie rods. Any kind of jouncing up and down, side to side, obviously massive clicking and noise, that's going to be a telltale sign. Lower ball joint, same difference. Alright, if you see any kind of jouncing, side to side, excessive noise, that's going to be your telltale sign. And again, these might also require greasing, so keep up on your greasing, and that should prevent it. A lot of your Dodge trucks and Chevy trucks, some Fords, like your Ford Ranger, they have a lot of ball joint problems. Okay, their suspensions are crap. So your Chevy and Dodge trucks, and your older models especially, your 90s and below, Your new ones not so much, but your 90s and below have a lot of suspension problems. Typically, you're not going to find ball joint problems, anything in that, in smaller cars unless you have high mileage. But trucks, I don't know. Trucks engineerings are pretty fucked up. Um, so, like I said, if you got a Dodge especially, you're going to want to check out your ball joints and your tie rods and your suspensions. And because what that does, guys, if there's anything off, is you're going to see signs of the tire wear. Okay, so if you got, your brand new big ass tires and, you're awful proud of them, you're going to see bumping, cupping, feathering. Alright, the tire's not going to go right. And you're going to wear your tires out prematurely. Also, your gas mileage is going to suffer. So, not greatly, but enough. And with gas almost at $4 a gallon, hey, I want every penny I can get. So, here's your steering linkage. This is an easy part and cheap. Check your rubber. Make sure there's no cracking on your linkage. Same thing, we're right here. Check all rubber components basically on your suspension. Make sure they're not missing, like rubber boots on your tie rods and ball joints, and just that they're not cracked and everything. Another component that you don't typically want to mess with because it's an expensive job is your A-arms bushings, your control arm bushings. Alright, now mine are shot, but these is cracking. This is really bad. And of course, again, if you're not mechanically inclined, not something you're going to be able to tackle yourself. So just keep that in mind. This is more of a comfort thing. It's not going to ruin your tire so much, but it is going to create some odd wear over time. So keep that in mind. Alright, so a review. Tie rods, pitman arm, idler arm, side to side. Ball joints, top to bottom. Now if you have movement and you don't see any of your components, your tie rods or ball joints or anything like that moving oddly, and you can go any which way, diagonal, top, bottom, side to side, and you still have a little bit of movement, bearings. Your bearings can become loose, grease comes out, whatever. Your bearings wear out and they become oddly shaped, which I'm going to go over. I'm going to take off the bearings. I'm going to show you a little bit, but since I'm running a little bit on time, we're just going to keep going. So keep that in mind, okay? If you don't hear a lot of clicking and you have like universal play in a 360 motion, if you put a hand here on the diagonal and it's still going and none of your components are bad, you don't hear a lot of clicking, your just tire feels like the lug nuts are loose almost, check your bearings, okay? So components that can possibly be bad: tie rods, side to side; pitman arm, side to side; idler arm, side to side; ball joints, up and down. Good to go. The steering link is just something I wanted to show you. That's not going to affect it. That's just, hey, if they go bad, your steering's going to be fucked up. Excuse my language. Alright, so stay tuned. We're going to open this up. We're going to take this tire off, look at front discs, brake lines, and all that good stuff. Alright, guys. Catch you later.